Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this this new year that we embark on. Thank you for your faithfulness to us. And I just pray that we would be good stewards of everything that you've given to us and that we would help share those gifts and resources with those around us who are in need. I thank you for those that are part of this group that do that on a regular basis. I thank you for those who are joining us this morning to share with us their vision and hopefulness for this new project in our area. We look forward to hearing from them. We ask your blessings on them. We ask your blessings on those in positions of leadership in our country, at our state and local levels. We ask for your protection for those who serve us in the military, domestically and overseas, and for those who protect us closer to home and our first responders. We thank you again for all that you do for us. We ask that you be with us in all that we do, and that everything that we do would be pleasing to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. I know we've got some guests this morning with us that are part of the program, but if you've got someone that's on the Zoom that's not a club member, if you wouldn't mind making an introduction, or if you've joined us for the first time and don't really know anybody, just unmute and let us know you're here. And hearing none, really glad to see some familiar faces, some faces that haven't seen in a while since the pandemic has made this a little challenging for folks to jump in and join us with technology. So welcome to those that are familiar but new faces to the Zoom meetings. We're glad you're here, and I'm excited about the program this morning. So thanks for joining us. Few quick announcements, and I'm going to throw my newsletter up on the screen if I can do this. Just as a little shout out to Rick on the newsletter. So hopefully y'all can see that. Just wanted to, most everyone who's on here probably checks their newsletter and reads it every week, but if you don't, it's a tidy little newsletter that doesn't take very long to get through. We've obviously got a great program this morning with the City of Refuge that's introduced here. As far as announcements, our community grants application link is up and active, and Bill Boyd is at the ready to review and consider community grant requests. We pushed out a notification over Facebook recently, kind of about what our goal is there. Something significant and substantial, if possible, is an objective of the board. So if you're aware of something that would be of great benefit to the community and to those in the community in need, we'd love to hear about those. We've got our club dues notification here. The Highlandettes are having a spirit night at Chick-fil-A next Thursday, January 21st. So if you're like me, prone to grabbing Chick-fil-A pretty frequently, next Thursday would be a good day to do that and mention the Highlandettes. Rick's got the links to the past meetings here that you can view through our YouTube channel. Our upcoming meetings next week, we've got student awards followed by police and fire at the end of the month. So we're looking forward to those. And would you look at that? We're at the end of the newsletter, and that took us about 60 seconds. So, so please take the time to open that newsletter, browse through it. We try to just get one out once a week and not flood your mailboxes, but take a look at that. There's links down here to our social media and again to the YouTube channel with the meetings. So take advantage of that. It's a great resource. Keeps you up to speed on what's going on in the club every week. So thanks to Rick, and that's my plug. Those are the main announcements that I'm aware of. I'll pause for a moment. If anybody has something else they'd like to mention or let the club know about, now would be a good time. And hearing none, I did see that Principal Jones had joined us, and I don't know if she's in a position to give us a quick update, but Principal Jones, if you are, we'll give you the floor.
Hey, good morning. I was trying to unmute. I'm sorry. I'm in the garage. I have an 11-year-old who's on quarantine, so I was trying to get everything squared away with her. But We've had a good week this week. We're about 40% virtual right now, and people keep changing their learning model as numbers increase. So we go and we honor all of those requests to go virtual. Good week in the athletic world. Noah McDavid scored his 1,000th career point for Wildcat basketball. So we're excited about that. He's still trying to figure out where he's going. I think he's had offers from West Point, Navy, and a few other schools. So we're excited to hear about that. The Wranglers recorded their performance for the inauguration because of course they can't go. So they're sending in a video. So we're excited that they're going to be representing Lake Highlands next week. And that's all.
Very cool. Thanks for the update. And
Sure.
yes, the quarantine spares no one, does it?
Oh my gosh. And that was like her goal in life, to be on quarantine. And then now she's stuck with my husband all day and she's not liking it like she thought she would. So
no,
she's ready to go back. Yeah.
That has been the case. That's been our experience as well.
Not as much fun as she thought. So
very good. Well, thank you, Principal Jones. And
of course.
Good luck with the weekend and the rest of the week next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, excited to see the Wranglers at the inauguration. That'll be very cool.
Yes, and very neat.
It's a bummer that they don't get to go and do that in person. That's a real treat for that group every 4 years, or just about
every 4
years.
I know, and I was supposed to go with them this year, so I was bummed too.
I hate to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you very much. And we've got an announcement from club member and past president Chris Poteet. So I'll turn the floor over to him.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me? I guess I'm unmuted. So just wanted to announce to the club, and I know some of you already know, but as of yesterday, it's official. So I am actually running for the Dallas ISD, for the Richardson ISD trustee seat that Gene Bono is not going to be running for. And so I filed the paperwork yesterday, and I will have, we've been doing a lot of ground game already, and social media and such will probably be going up and hot either today or Monday. There'll be a press announcement and a whole litany of other actions coming up. And so just wanted to let everybody know, because I know the word some of you all had known and wanted to be the one to tell everybody in an official manner, as opposed to just the grapevine working its way through. But I'm excited. I was excited, obviously, in the Exchange Club and having the ability and opportunity to serve the community. And this is a great opportunity to continue that service. And again, I think it also behooves the Exchange Club. It benefits the Exchange Club just having that representation up there at RISD. So that's my goal. We're going to go in. It will be an opposed or a competitive race. So I'll be probably touching base with a lot of you individually, talking about support across Lake Highlands and then up into Richardson and North Dallas as well. So just wanted to get that out there. So if you were hearing rumors, they're not rumors, that's the facts. And as soon as we get everything ready to turn on for the social media, then I'll probably send you all individual emails just linking you up with it, but wanted to get that out there. So thanks, Chris.
Very good, Chris. Thanks for jumping in and throwing your hat in the ring for that. I know that you'd be great for that spot. And just to follow on to that, that's an at-large seat that Chris is jumping in on. So he'll be needing support across the entire district, up in Richardson as well. So certainly the support here in Lake Highlands is much needed. And I'm sure Chris would appreciate any assistance anyone in the club might have in getting him in contact with folks in the Richardson area as well. So full vote of support here, Mr. Poteet. You've done well serving the community through the Exchange Club, and I know you'll be great for RISD. So again, thanks and good luck with that.
Appreciate it.
All right, that's the end of my announcement list. So I will, 5 minutes before 1:30, turn the meeting over to Mr. Bailey to introduce our guests.
Thank you very much, sir. Good morning, everybody. I am going to turn it over to Councilman McGough here in just a moment to introduce the the team with the 12,000 Greenville project. I just wanted to quickly express how grateful we are to have you guys here. I mean, I know it was just August of 2019 when we first heard about the proposal for a homeless shelter in the Forest and Greenville area. And I know there were, a number of folks in the community that had concerns about whether that was, the right project, right place, as well as I think some frustrations about how city staff let the public know about that project. And, Councilman McGough has been working tirelessly ever since then to make sure that project, was the best project it could be for the neighborhood as well as for the people that it's going to serve. I know most, if not all of us, were really excited when we heard last summer about the Bonton Farms North project that would be taking the place of the original proposal. And I know we've all, or most of us, I'm sure, have seen now the coverage about the change in management there and City of Refuge coming in. And so we're really excited to hear more about the current plans for the project and the team's vision for what that can be. So, thank you to all of you for being here and for all of your hard work on that project. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Councilman McGough and let him introduce Mike and Bruce.
Good morning. Is audio working? Everything's good. Okay. Before I get into that, I just want to add my 2 cents. Thank you, Chris Poteet, for jumping into this. And I won't be shy either. Guys, send him money, get ready for yard signs, get this thing going, because it's going to be a battle, and he's the right guy for this. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's the guy he's going against started really, really early on the Richardson side of things and everything else. So do whatever we can to help Chris in this. And I just want to say thank you for doing this. It's a big commitment. All right, to our project. Let me first say that this is absolutely not a homeless shelter project. It wasn't, and we don't want that to be any part of the discussion as we talk about this. This goes back, it goes back a lot of years, and it goes back to some of my work when I started in 2005, going into and working with our homeless population and seeing how everything was transactional. It was, we give you a cigarette, we give you something to eat, and you come do this for a little bit, and you come back and forth, and nothing ever changed. And this city has done a very, very poor job of dealing with vulnerable populations across our city. Drive to 75 and Forest right now, and you'll see another example of the disaster of what our city is as we deal with these things. And so we were thankfully able to stop the previous project that was coming in at 12,000 Greenville that would have been a $20 million, 200 unit permanent supportive housing that they hope to get services to someday, and a pet adoption center. That was what our city had decided they were going to put at that location. And by every single account, other than the city staff that was pushing it, that would have been a disaster for public safety, for economic development, for our community in a lot of ways. And so from about 7 or 8 years ago, I personally, and Darren Babcock has come and spoke at our meeting several times, and I've worked with Bonton, and they provided another option that was focused on an urban farm that would bring in a farmer's market and farm to table cafe, restaurant, and a coffee shop. And then we would include a workforce innovation hub and a co-working space. There'd be a little abbey. There'd be an open space for events. This would be a community destination. This would not be a success if not everyone on here was willing to come and sit with your kids and grandkids and eat and have a real amazing place to share spaces. One of the core values of this project is excellence and to top notch everywhere. We were sitting with our developer partner yesterday morning, and there are so many very, very large partners that are ready. I think the analogy he gave is we're at the starting blocks, and we just need to put the blocks behind us and we're ready to go. And so I'm real excited about the partners that are coming into this. But to the point of the subject of today, City of Refuge, from day one, from the very first time we were talking about this project, City of Refuge Dallas, which is a separate nonprofit here in the city of Dallas that's been here for a year or so. Mike Reinzel's on the board there. He can talk more about that in response to questions later as well. They were a key partner when we sat down with Darren to bring Bonton into this vision. Another partner is Human Impact with Elizabeth Jordan, and who does a lot of the street outreach, again, at a very different level than what most of you think of when you think about regular street outreach to vulnerable populations. And so City of Refuge originated out of Atlanta, and that's what I want this body and this club to start learning more and more about that. And the best way to do so is to learn from Bruce Deal. I can't help with the irony, but he is the real deal. He is a man I've grown to respect greatly. I've learned a lot about his start and his work, and we could not have a better partner than we have with the City of Refuge. And quite honestly, and there's more to address at this some point in time, but Bonton just simply did not have the capacity to take on a project of this size. And the deeper we dug into it, it was very clear that this is not, what we're doing here needs to be able to stand up to every bit of scrutiny. I'm sitting here and I appreciate many of you, but certainly Sherman sat down with us, as you know, and brought forth a lot of his concerns in this discussion. And my goal in all this is to honor every single one of those concerns. And we're going to do that. And I think we're in the best place we could at this moment. And so without talking anymore, we can answer questions later, but I want to turn this over to Bruce to give you a little bit more history and background on what City of Refuge has done, and then we'll talk more about what will happen here in Dallas. So Bruce, you're up.
Thank you, Councilman. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be with you. Been in Dallas this week with multiple meetings and a lot of excitement and energy around the potential that exists. I founded City of Refuge about 23 and a half years ago in Atlanta. I was in traditional ministry for 14 years before that, and was actually asked to go downtown on a consulting assignment to close a little church to sell the property. Became aware of many needs in our community, and our family decided to invest our lives in trying to do some mitigation to those needs and to try to help provide pathways of transformation for individuals. So my wife, Rhonda, we have 5 daughters. We moved into the inner city 24 years ago and began that process. And at another time, we have more time I could share with you. A lot of fun stories about the guns in our offering buckets and the heroin rigs, and being in Superior Court with guys that tried to kill me. And it was just more fun than we'd ever had in church before. So it was quite a journey we've been on. And so we set out with the goal of providing resources to help individual in crisis move from point A to point B in a timely, organized fashion. And so what happens so much in homelessness or addiction or returning citizens from incarceration or those suffering with PTSD issues is they begin the journey toward recovery and self-sufficiency and independence. But that journey is often very arduous and difficult. So they have to make an appointment at one place to discuss potential housing, at another place to address addiction recovery, at another place for vocational training, another place for mental health counseling, whatever their life circumstances are. And as they go to 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 different places, there's a different case manager in each one of those environments that has a different thought process about how they should move forward. They get confusing intel. And then it's difficult if they are at a really place of challenge. If they don't have transportation, they have to find the $95 a month to ride our public transportation. And it's just very, very difficult for people to get to the point of independence and self-sustainability. So our vision was, what if we provide a one-stop shop for those who find themselves at some point of dilemma and struggle in life? How much more quickly could we accelerate their process, and how much more long-term success could we experience? And so we were donated 8 acres of land with 5 acres under roof in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Atlanta. 17 years ago and moved there with that idea of creating what we call a one-stop shop. And so it has been incredibly successful, more successful than we ever dreamed it could be. I'll just give you a little overview of what's on our campus, for example. So today we have 100 beds in individual living environments. So it's not a shelter, it's not a group environment, individual housing rooms for mothers with children who are experiencing homelessness. So we have 100 beds there. It provides 6 months of transitional housing while we help them identify the next place to go. We provide medical, mental health, dental, vision, parenting classes, financial literacy classes, vocational training, vocational placement, mental health assessment and treatment as needed. We are 100% full 100% of the time. In 2020, we had 8,823 requests for housing in Eden Village, our housing program, and we were able to say yes 427 times. So it's obviously, we have a staff person that all they do every day is take the phone calls and emails and try to refer somewhere else. We are the most sought after environment for those experiencing homelessness in the female population in the Southeast. It is incredibly successful in the fact that we have 3 outcomes we're looking for when someone graduates the program. If they have completed the full 6 months and graduate, we want them to move to safe and affordable housing with a livable wage income and their children enrolled in at least an average performing school. And over the past 10 years, we've accomplished that 93% of the times with the residents who completed a full 6-month program. We have a private daycare on campus to care for children, so mom can be engaged in all of their recovery and process forward. And so from 6 weeks of age to 5 years of age, a private Christian school on campus for middle school and high school. All of our students either live on campus or come from our community. So they all come from poverty environments, from food desert environments. Only one of our students comes from a 2-parent household. So it's a 12-hour-a-day program. It goes from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We feed 3 meals a day, year-round program, 2.5 months of summer camp program with trips around the country and vocational and educational training. We've had 11 graduating classes, and 100% of our graduates have been college accepted. Not all of them chose to go to college. Some entered the military, some entered the workforce directly, but it's a highly successful school. We have a medical clinic on campus, partnership with Mercy Care in our city, and 10,000 square foot medical clinic with 6 medical exam rooms, 2 dental units, a vision component, mental health component, serve about 750 patients a month in our medical facility on campus. One of the key things we understood years ago was the need for individuals to have a skill that they could earn a livable wage. Obviously, if you come from a place of difficulty, and even if you get a lot of things right, if you don't have a skill set that will allow you to maintain a lifestyle of security and safety, then you're going to revert back to bad behavior. So the latest report in Atlanta shows that a single individual living alone needs to make a minimum of $19.20 an hour is basically minimum wage to survive. And so we have a vocational training center now that provides training in 8 different areas of vocation. We have a Napa Auto Technician Training Center, a Certified Nursing Assistant program, Culinary Arts, a Coding Academy, remarkable program that the average starting salary out of our most recent graduating class was $53,000 an individual, which for most of them came either from unemployment or underemployment, was remarkable. We partner with all of the major companies in Atlanta for the vocational hub and sponsorship. So Chick-fil-A and Coca-Cola and Delta and Home Depot and UPS are all partners with us as we build out the vocational hub. Over the past few years, we've put an average of 500 individuals a year into the workforce in Metro Atlanta. We also have a survivor program for those who've been sexually trafficked and exploited. So we have 48 beds on campus. We are a drop-off location for those who've been rescued by the Atlanta Police Department, the GBI, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security. We're a hideaway location for individuals who will testify against their traffickers. So that program has served more than 800 women over the past 7 years in a very intensive trauma-informed care type of environment. We're expanding that in multiple locations, and we'll be opening a House of Cherith location in Dallas this year as well, in addition to what we hope will be the City of Refuge location. We've expanded quite a bit now, so we have locations in Chicago and Baltimore. We have 4 locations in Georgia, 3 locations in Virginia. We are opening a City of Refuge affiliate in Cincinnati this year as well. So the expansion has been strong. We also work hard on community development, not only on our campus, but we just cut ribbon in August on a 47 unit affordable housing unit across the street from us. We have another 15 or so properties in our community where we're building single family dwellings to fight economic displacement and gentrification that's taking place in our city. In some respects, we are currently renovating a 31 unit hotel that will be efficiency apartments for men that are returning citizens or overcoming mental health challenges or addiction issues, young men who might have made a couple bad decisions and now want to get it right. So it'll be a full 3-year residential program with all the support services around that. We are a faith-based organization. We're not shy about that, but the way that's structured is we are faith-based in our orientation and the way we do our work and why we do our work. And that is something that is made available to all of those that participate in our program, but it's not a requirement. So they don't have to participate in any kind of religious activity in order to receive the services. And we certainly respect their decision if they choose not to, or if they happen to be of a different faith than us. But that is something that we certainly make available and are not shy about talking about. So that's a whole lot in a quick period of time. I know I want to leave plenty of time for Mike to share a bit and then to answer any questions you have. This journey started with Mike, and I won't take his story, but a couple years ago, and a few weeks ago, I don't know, maybe in November, Mike felt like it was time for him to return to Atlanta. And we thought at that point in time, the project, as with our involvement, might shut down. And I said, well, hold on a minute. You've done a ton of work for 2 years and met a lot of people and met the councilman, and they're all excited. And the city council's willing to convey the land, and let's dive in. So I flew out, and we had some meetings at Love Field in the conference room, and we just got inspired again that this has a lot of potential. It has a lot of impact potential to change people's lives, become a destination point for the community. And so I've been back and forth a few times now. Enjoyed spending a week here this week to talk to potential providers that would partner with us, contractors, funders. And so there's a lot of energy around that. And so thank you so much for your time this morning. I'll hand it off to Mike, and then we'll be glad to answer questions.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. So I do want to start by just saying, hey, as much as City Refuge in Atlanta has done, and, Bruce, amazing story over 23 and a half years, what we're embarking on for Lake Highlands will be catered to the needs and the people of the Lake Highlands community and the vulnerable and marginalized people there. So we've got a lot of work to do to kind of learn from people on this call, from people living on the streets, from educators, from collaborative partners and so forth on what the needs are and how we can partner to meet those specific needs. So, there's a whole lot that Atlanta, City Refuge in Atlanta has been. That'll be incorporated into our story in the 12,000 Greenville site. And then there's a whole lot that might not be. So Adam, I think, mentioned the human impact, which does street engagement. They go one-on-one with people experiencing homelessness on the streets and just build relationship and hear their story and say, how do we help serve you? And so we're going to be listening to those voices. We're going to be listening to the voices of the people like all of you on this call. We've done some different neighborhood gatherings. We've met with educators. We've met with collaborative partners, and we'll continue that process to refine what the village at Lake Highlands, that 12,000 Greenville site, will actually be. So we've made some real good progress. And I want to also say that Darren Babcock and Bonton Farms remain a friend of this project. Darren and I are good friends and have very similar hearts and passions. And they just made the decision, which I think was the right decision, to focus on what they already had on the table. And so I'm excited about where we are today. We've had, as Bruce said, we've had some really good meetings this week with some people that are interested in deeply investing, either financially or missionally, in what the work will be. And we're running forward. So just to kind of give you a broad brushstroke, this is probably, we think at this point, about a $15 million capital raise to build this project out. It will have several components. It'll have a housing component. We're looking at what that will look like exactly, but at this point, we're looking at tiny homes, and we would start with a small number of those and grow as that's appropriate. So building community is really critical in this, and you can't just throw a bunch of people in a place and hope that community starts. You got to build community and then invite people in. So the housing component will kind of scale up over time. It'll have probably 30,000-ish square feet of some of the components that Adam mentioned on the front end, of a cafe and a coffee shop and a market that'll sell produce from the 4-acre working farm on site. It'll have some event space, so that, again, our desire in all of this is that everyone sees it as an asset, not a liability, and kind of shift people's mindset. When you're serving the vulnerable and marginalized, people sometimes think, well, you know, great, but not in my backyard. And we are going to create an environment that everybody says, yes, I want this in my backyard, and I want to bring my kids and bring my grandmother, because it's an amazing place where transformation takes place in the lives of the people we're serving and in our lives, and hopefully in the kingdom of God. So I'll pause there and maybe open it up to questions.
I've got a question. Just Chris Poteet here, and I guess for either Mike or Bruce. Great information. I mean, a lot of information, a lot of volume of information there. And so what do you see like are the two biggest challenges? I mean, it sounds like, I know, Bruce, when you kind of laid out all the things that have been going on at the other locations that y'all have developed and successes, what do you see here as the biggest challenges that you guys are going to face? And then what's the plan to kind of get over those hurdles, knowing that each one's probably completely unique? So.
Yeah, good question, Chris. The hurdles in most communities we've gone in have been the same to some point. Community perception of what we're doing, right? So anytime the word homeless is associated at any level, people start to get nervous, rightfully so. And so that's one of the reasons I make it really clear. We don't run a shelter environment. We don't run a homeless encampment environment. We run a transitional program everywhere we go. So this is for those individuals who have a true desire to move from a place. And it's not just homeless, by the way. This would be for veterans who are experiencing issues and they find themselves homeless, but it's because of their service and now the PTSD. This might be for younger people who decided not to finish high school and didn't realize that's a bad decision, and they're 20, 21 years old now. They want to live in a safe environment with mentors around them and tutors and a vocational training kind of environment to move forward. So we have no desire for simply to be a homeless encampment or homeless place. This is for those that are transitioning from a place of crisis and dilemma in life to a place of independence and self-sustainability. So having a vocational training hub helps them move on that path. Having financial literacy classes and parenting classes help them move on that class. Having a church on campus, there will be an Abbey on campus, and having somebody that's a spiritual guide there will be those things. So for us, it's about individual life transformation. Our mission statement at City Refuge is we bring light, hope, and transformation. You know, we're just trying to shine light into people's darkness and then burst some spark of hope in them that they can get out of that darkness, but then have all the resources they need to make sure that happens. So community perception is always one of the things that we have to figure out the best way to navigate. The other thing is we're not from Dallas, right? And so there's people been doing really good work in your community for a long time, and they don't know why I'm having these conversations. Well, who is City Refuge and why are they here? We understand that. And so we've already started conversations and meetings with folks that have been on the ground doing great work for a long time. And our desire is that everybody knows we have no desire to come in and take over anything. We have no desire to compete with what's already happened. We're here to complement the work that's already been done. And if together we can identify some gaps in the system and some gaps in the processes and be complementary to the work that's already done and maybe fill some gaps that aren't there and help other organizations to scale and become even better, that's what we want to do. And so those are two primary things in every environment that we go in, the perception of the community about what we're going to do, and then some little bit of resistance from nonprofits, NGOs that are already there about why are you coming to our community?
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for the answer.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, Bruce, thank you. That touched on a question that I had, and I'll ask you just to see if the kind of physical infrastructure and location presents a challenge. The location here in Dallas is obviously a bit different than kind of the near downtown location that y'all have in Atlanta. And I was just curious what kind of challenges, that will present in terms of being that hub, if you will, not having access to a lot of the other services that our homeless population avail themselves of, which are closer to downtown Dallas.
Yeah, and so it's important to note that our locations around the country, we have about half of those are in urban environments and about half of those are actually in rural environments. So we adjust the model depending on the geography, the population, and the needs assessment that we do. So, we're in very rural areas in Virginia, very small towns or mill towns that are now closed up, very, very few resources available. And so we have a whole transportation system set up to help folks that live on our property then be transported 30, 40 minutes away to receive some of the services they need. Even in employment there are very few employment opportunities in a couple of our rural areas. So we've had to make relationship with employers that are some distance away and then develop a transportation process until people are independent, able to have their own transportation. So we do understand ours is a very, very urban model. The home base in Atlanta, it is in Chicago, it is in Baltimore, but then our other areas, Cincinnati, we're going to actually be about 20 minutes out of Cincinnati in a small town called Harrison, 28,000 individuals there. So again, there's the opportunity to evaluate the lay of the land, figure out what is available, and then match that. And that's one of the key things that we're doing with the other partners that have already been doing this kind of work, is for them to identify to us, what do they see as the needs, the resource needs that are not necessarily in close proximity to 12,000 Greenville, and then to develop a strategy working together to address those.
Very good. Thank you for the update.
Bruce, this is Truett Matthews and Mike. Appreciate y'all being here again, and thank you. And I have been excited about this project and learning more about it, and involved in some other, familiar with Human Impact, kind of what they do. And one of the questions I've always had is that once again, the need is great and the workers are few and that kind of thing. How do you go about vetting and locating, and whether it's a single person or a family or a single mom, or how does the vetting process go through? Because like you said, you had 8,000 applications last year at your spot, and you can only house 500 or whatever. How does that take place?
Well, we have a process that doesn't always work through it, but most of the time it does. And so a lot of it is dependent upon the right person that we identify to lead the City of Refuge Dallas, if this moves forward. So for them to have really good business savvy and sense, know how to structure an interview process, a vetting process, then to train the team around them in order to identify some key characteristics in individuals' lives that we do interview for a spot to live on campus. So again, we understand that there are chronically homeless who are always going to be homeless, and they want to be homeless by choice, right? That's their desire. That's not who this is for. This is not for those who are unwilling to address their addiction issues. And so we have a half a dozen questions that have been put together that sort of indicate to us whether somebody's really ready to even engage in a serious conversation about life transformation. Once we get past that first phase with our case managers, then we move to the next phase where they actually complete an application. They have to give us an essay as to why they want to be a part of this. And that could be a written essay or verbal conversation, have to show us what they want to do. And then there are 2 or 3 things that they have to do to prove that to us. So they have to show up a certain number of days at a certain time to meet with the case manager or with somebody in vocational training before they're even allowed into the program. So we want to make sure that they will take the initiative and be there on time and be presentable and have the right mindset about it. And so there's a process that we will train and teach the staff here. And then frankly, a good bit of it's discernment, so we have to have the right people in place that can sort of get a feel for somebody's heart. But we know that we don't always get that right. So there are several steps in that process to identify the right candidates, and we want to be successful early. And so the goal is to find those that have not only potential, but desire. So those two pieces have to be together. They have to have potential and desire to follow the course of the program.
Thank you.
Hey, this is
Bruce,
Justin Bono. Can I jump in on that a little bit? So I appreciate, first of all, you guys' interest in this project, and obviously I think most of us understand the need to fill this gap for the homeless in our city. I guess my question more goes to, after you've vetted these people and kind of the first phase fills up or gets close to filling up, and you're thinking about expansion after that. I guess, how are you managing success? How do you know that your vetting process worked, and the residents that you selected are going to be there long term or achieve the goals of their program, whatever that may be, so that your future growth beyond that first phase is guaranteed to be more successful?
Yeah, thank you, Justin. So again, we have 3 measurables in Atlanta. So when they graduate, do they move to safe and affordable housing? Do they have a livable wage income? Are their children, if they have kids in average performing school? So we have some metrics that we'll use along the way to determine what those metrics are for Dallas. And then it'll be a simple process of tracking those. And then historical evidence begins to show us pretty quickly if the way we are doing it is working or not. So, it'll take us 12 to 18 months after we open the doors to know whether or not the system that we have put in place here is the best system. We'll make those adjustments along the way. And then that, you get 12 or 18 months in, now you have some historical evidence that says, okay, this is working, this is not, we need an adjustment here. We didn't even think about this on the front end. And so the way I lead is I'm a student of observation. So I'm always looking, watching, asking questions. Those first 12 to 18 months, I'll be back and forth from Atlanta to Dallas, probably more here than I am there, to make sure that we build the right infrastructure, have the right metrics and measurements in place. And then on the other side, there's the people piece. And so we're really big on individual case management. So there's not a template that we lay down that has to fit everybody who is a part of the program. So we do a full assessment, and then there's a write-up as to what the path forward is for this individual, not for this group of individuals, not for this group of residents, for this individual. And so some of them may process through the program, in 30 days and be stable and ready to go. They found their employment and they're ready. Somebody else, it may take that full year. And so we do have the measurements for the overall program, and then we adjust those based on each individual case. But historical evidence is what we have to get, Justin, before we know for sure if it's working, and make the adjustments along the way.
Bruce, it's really wonderful that you're giving so many people the ability to not only sustain themselves, but find fulfillment and pride in their life. What have you found is the best, most effective ways to communicate your story? And in what ways can we help you do that?
The best way to communicate our story is by testimonies of those that have been through the program. So as we move forward and start some fundraising events and exploratory conversations and such, I'll bring folks with me that at some point in time had whatever level of a crisis. They'll be able to share briefly their story, how they moved from point A to point B. So that's one of the ways that we tell the story. Again, numbers tell the story. I think emotion and inspiration is critical, but you can be a really good storyteller. And if you don't have the data to back that up, it starts to lose value pretty quickly. And so we have both the emotional and inspirational stories to tell, but then we have, again, that historical evidence and data that we tie in. We're really big on being able to share with those who invest with us financially, the ROI. Here's the number of people that you've impacted in this area, this area, this area. We do a lot of research in all the environments we find ourselves, what the economic impact is for that community. So over 3 years, if we're able to take this number of people out of places of dependence on the government, they're no longer going to be incarcerated. They're not going to be in their mental health environments. The children aren't going to be in the child welfare system. Not only are we taking that amount of money away from the city and the county and the state having to bear that burden, but now those folks are becoming contributors to the economy. I sat with our mayor not too long ago and I said, hey, you know, over 10 years, we've impacted the city of Atlanta and Fulton County by $57 million with folks that aren't incarcerated, they aren't in mental health, they're not in childcare. And I said, so, and she just bragged on me and said it was wonderful. And I said, well, I'd love for you to just write me a check for 10% of that to say thank you. And she chose not to do that, but I thought it was worth the ask. And so, you know, we research and find the data and figure out how are we not, number one goal is to impact that individual for better. But what happens, the natural result is you impact your community for better. You impact those who come to volunteer for better. So it's, again, it's a holistic approach. We want everything around 12,000 Greenville to be more energetic and exciting and enthusiastic. And it's a destination for people to come and have dinner and walk in the park and go in the gift shop. And at the same time, they're interacting with people who are on their journey to independence and self-sustainability, but there's not these dividing lines there. It becomes a true community.
Hey, Bruce or Mike, either one, I guess. Thanks for all of this. And as everyone said, great information, and we want to be helpful in that. I'm curious a little bit about understanding the model a little further. Who are the people that are, you talked about some overlap with different groups that already exist in our neighborhood in Dallas, whatever. Do you come in and partner with those kinds of people who are here, or do you guys staff up and or get volunteers? Maybe you partner with churches, I don't know. But how do you affect the actual programs and deliver them?
Yeah, I'll give a short answer, Mike. Collective impact's critical for us. Collective impact simply means we have one goal. We find best in class in multiple service areas to come on that journey with us. So we desire to have a clinic on campus. Mike can talk to folks. He's already talked to you about folks where we talked to. You know, the vocational training, you know, obviously we're looking for partners. You know, Napa sponsors our auto shop in Atlanta. Chick-fil-A sponsors part of our culinary. UPS sponsors our customer service and hospitality. So finding those partners in the community to come alongside is critical. Volunteers are critical. We want 100% of the staff to be Dallas. So we have no interest in bringing in staff that's worked in Atlanta to come here and bring our model. We want our CEO, the COO, the residential people, the facilities people all to be Dallas and all to be closely tied into the community, know the lay of the land, so that there's value from the first day they step on the property because it's their hometown. It's where they are part of. And to bring on those other nonprofits, as I mentioned as well, to, if they want to be engaged in this and be a part of this process, to find out what their skill sets and what talents and what abilities they bring to the table and to utilize those as best we can. Mike, you can talk some about maybe some of the partnerships you've had the conversation with already.
Yeah, Greg, I would say that we never want to create something that already exists well in the community. And so as an example, on the health and wellness side, I've had conversation with Baylor Scott and White with Healing Hands, which is right around the corner from this location, about partnering with them to fill those needs. So it's if you look at City Refuge in Atlanta as an example, there's 8 or 9 different collaborative organizations that operate under roof. That City Refuge gives them a place to do what they do, but we don't need to go create something that already exists. So that collective impact model that Bruce referred to is all of those organizations coming together and saying, how do we do this well together? And we're having a lot of those conversations around health and wellness, education, housing, all the various pieces. And we'll create what is absent, but we're not going to recreate what already exists well.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
I don't know, Chris, I don't know what time frame looks like in ending this, but we've given a lot of information. Bruce is a great inspiration guy. I would love for us to, at some point, to be able to end with maybe a life story, somebody that has been impacted through City of Refuge.
Yeah, no, our time is a little more flexible since we're on the Zoom platform instead of in person, although we would love to be in person. So folks are, kind of free to jump in and leave if they need to. But I agree. I'd love to hear a story or two, Bruce, about some life transformation that y'all have seen in Atlanta or elsewhere. And I know I share the sentiment of many on the meeting at this point. Just kind of excitement, enthusiasm for the project. Hope to see something like this move forward, and like to hear the plan and vision that y'all shared so far. So unless there are other questions, Bruce, if you want to share a little bit more, I'll let that conclude things, and I'll do a short wrap up at the very end.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And I'll move quickly. I do have another meeting coming up in a little bit. I got to jump in the car for, but yeah, for example, Ryan grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, was abused by his stepfather, ran away at 13, was recruited into the Gangster Disciples for the next 14 years, was a gangbanger all over the country, ran a robbery crew in and out of prison, in and out of addictions, crazy stuff. Came to Atlanta because a contract was put on his life by the Bloods. And so he came to Atlanta and was walking down the street past our property to rob a drug house beside us. On a side note, the Atlanta Police Department put out a report a few years ago, said they were going to spend $20 million over 5 years to identify and shut down 20 trap houses in Atlanta. So if you don't, trap house, drug house, prostitution house, all the things illegal. So they were going to spend $20 million over 5 years to close 20 houses. And the next time I saw one of the officers from Zone 1 where we live, I said, hey, if you give me $1 million, I'll take you to 20 houses today. We don't need to spend 5 years figuring this out. I can help you real quickly. He didn't take my offer either. But anyway, so Ryan was walking by and literally said, as he walked by our campus, he said, I just started trembling. I couldn't figure out what was going on. He said, I got to the drug house, had a couple of guys with him. And he said, I just started crying. I hadn't cried since I was 13 years old. He said, for the first time in 14 years, I couldn't do the robbery. When he got back to the house he was staying, our youth outreach guy was actually walking down the street and started talking to him, ended up bringing him to our office, had a really cool encounter with God. And we're now 14 years into that journey. So he had 7 felonies when he came to us. And I'm like, Ryan, how'd you get 7 felonies? And he said it was a really bad day. So anyway, he got 7 felonies. We got his record expunged, got his ability to carry a weapon reinstated. He started his own security company, now has 80 some employees in his own security company. His daughter that he was broken relationship from the time she was 3 because she was in a car when he got shot at by another gang. He went back into Cleveland. We launched a security program there that his daughter, who recently graduated college with a degree in social justice, now runs that program as a 24-year-old. She's running a program for us there, and their relationship's been restored. And so now he travels with me around the country, tells the story. I mean, it was as bleak and dark as you can be. You've got a contract on your life. You have 7 felonies. You can't get a job. You have an addiction issue. You have a mental health challenge. And so we were able to walk through that. And over the years, we have 25,000 of those stories that have been documented. We serve better than 1,000 distinct individuals a year. Zay is on our staff now. We met him when he was 8 and met his wife when she was 9, and they started coming to our kids program, both from broken homes, grew up in the program, married each other, got them both graduated high school, married each other, got 2 little girls. They both work for us now. Their girls are growing up in a 2-parent household with stable income, great educational opportunities. And so it's just, that's why we do what we do. This is not about building a $15 million project. It's not about houses. It's not about property and land. About individual life transformation. And when people ask me, what do I want my legacy to be? And my response is generational impact. So can we come to the place as a community, as a group of friends, as folks who live and work and shop in the same area, can we come together and create an environment that not only is going to bring help and restoration to those who are already in difficult situations, but sometimes, almost more importantly, is going to provide a path so that their children don't have to go down that same journey. Can we change that? Can we partner with the local school system and them identify for us that young man or young woman that has great potential, but because of a broken home environment, they need somebody to come alongside and mentor and tutor and help them. One of the phrases I use a lot is too many people are born with opportunity injustice. right? They just are born without a chance. I was born with momentum, right? I'm born in a 2-parent household, great school opportunities, was taught the right way, was modeled for me all the time. So many kids around our country, and I know I'm preaching the choir, but so many people are born without those opportunities. And the one who does make it to success is the exception, not the rule. And my dream is to change that, to flip that. And the one who doesn't make it from your community near 12,000 Greenville is the exception, right? The rule is that the majority embrace the fullness of all those things that are offered and become incredible success stories. And that's what motivates me. It's what gets me up every day. And, we've had some really cool success and acknowledgments and all this kind of stuff, but it's still the Ryan story. And it's crazy. I mean, he's a grown man, 40 some years old, but he'll still text me and say, got a new contract today. Are you proud of me? Right. Because he never had that as a child. At 35 years old, he had walked to my office, said, hey, my car won't start. And I said, well, here are the keys to my car, grabbed the jumper cables. He came back in 10 minutes later holding the jumper cables and go, I don't know what to do with these. He's 35 years old. And he's never had a male role model in his life show him how to jump a car off. So those are the kind of stories that early on will come out of the project. If it moves forward, we'll start having early stories 3, 6, 9 months in where somebody's life has been broken for years. Well, all of a sudden, a lot of times it's just a matter of them believing that the promise is for them, right? So that's the light piece. So many people are in the darkness and they just can't even see the hope. Well, we show them the hope, but then the thing is, and great organizations around the country do great work, but it's triage work, right? And triage work makes us feel good. So we take the food to the homeless. Now we feel good, but they're still homeless and I got to depend on somebody to show up tomorrow. The kid without the father in the home or their mother has an addiction issue. We show up with the back to school supplies once a year. Well, that makes us feel good, right? Can we take less kids with the back to school supplies, take a fewer number of kids and walk with them all year versus showing up one time with the back to school supplies, right? So I've gone off into my whole theory of change now, which you guys don't want to hear. So I just think there's a great opportunity here. And I think the Ryan stories, the Zay stories, the Vanessa stories that we have they're remarkable. I'm not pitching my book because I don't get income from it. It goes to the ministry. But if you have interest, you can go to Amazon and buy our book, came out last year, called Trust First. And it will tell you half a dozen incredible stories of success, and it'll share a couple stories of failure that'll break our hearts as well. But it does give you the picture of our 22-year journey if you have any interest in that. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you.
Yeah, Bruce, thank you very much. And I know you said you had to jump and run to the next meeting. So if you do, I'll let Mike answer this last question and then we'll wrap things up. We heard kind of a couple of times mentioned if this thing moves forward, what are, kind of the immediate next steps and benchmarks that y'all need to hit to see the project move forward?
Yeah, and I would probably change that language a little bit. I would say when it moves forward, it is moving forward. There's a lot of momentum, a lot of excitement, and a lot of people that are going to be invested in it. So it is going to move forward. And so next steps, we've got a meeting in a week to kind of lay out some of what the actual physical location will look like. To Bruce's point earlier, we've had several meetings with potential investors, from high net worth individuals to foundations and so forth. So we're doing some of that. We're engaging already. Human Impact is putting together their team to do the street engagement piece. So listening to the voices of the people we're going to be serving, listening to the voices of the community. So COVID has made it a little bit challenging, but we're going to be doing listening sessions and learning sessions from the community around Lake Highlands, whether those are educators or people doing this work, nonprofits, a lot of different neighbors, the faith-based community. One of the pastors of a church plant in the Lake Highlands community has already gone deep and pulled together 26 other pastors around that property who have said, hey, we want to be part of the solution and help build community and be community for the people that we're going to serve here, long beyond the time that they might be on that 12,000 Greenville site. So a lot of steps forward. So my ask for this group would be, hey, we need you praying. We need you advocating for this. So that could mean all kinds of different things, but we need to meet people that would be the potential CEO leader. We need to be meeting people that would be stakeholders at various levels, whether collaborative partners, financial investors. So a lot of different ways that this group can engage. And I put in the chat my contact information, email and cell phone number. And if you have any questions, if you have ideas, thoughts, ways you can help, reach out to me, and we would love your help.
Mike, I don't see that information in chat right now. I see a link for the book, but not your stuff.
So it's all the way up at the very top of the chat. If you joined late, you may have missed it. I've got it copied. I'll repost it down here at the bottom. Hopefully it'll format.
Yep, there you go.
There we go.
Just
all right, Mike.
Up.
Yeah, thanks for the response there. And it's great to hear kind of what the investment and buy-in is from others in the community as y'all are getting this thing off the ground and moving forward. Thank you both again for being here this morning. It's been great to hear the story and kind of the vision for the property and for the organization. We look forward to helping y'all move this thing forward. And as a couple have said, let us know how we can help. We will be praying. And I know, individually our members will look for ways to get involved and help out. So really appreciate it. Great to see y'all this morning. Adam, thanks for helping introduce this morning and bringing these guys to us. Michael, thanks for scheduling the program. It's very timely and of great interest to those in our community. And obviously there is a great need that this seems like a good fit to fill. So
Chris?
Yeah, Richard, go ahead.
Yeah, if I can squeeze in one word about the Midwinter Conference for Exchange is Saturday, January 30th from 10 to noon. It's free. It's on Zoom. Feel free to learn some more about the district.
Yeah, thanks, Richard.
And I'll also tell Chris, January 26th, the Richardson Exchange Club will be meeting at 7 a.m. You can go live right across from the Eisman Center or Zoom. So he can, I'll introduce him if he wants to come to that.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Richard. I'll reach out to you directly.
Thanks for both of those. Let's see, a couple of last quick announcements I missed earlier. Our scholarship application is live and online. I think Mario's on the call, but I'll just do a quick pitch. The application is up and you can find it on the lhexchangeclub.org website. There's the schedule of the timeline for the scholarship program. It looks like we're interviewing candidates in March, late March, selections in April, and then we're going to have a breakfast in May, and still trying to figure out exactly how that format's going to work, but the church has made itself available, and we'll kind of have to see how we set it up and do all that. But please take a minute, share this with your friends that have high school seniors. We're pushing it out via social media, and then Mario has created a video here on the website to give the students kind of an introduction to the program and let them know what they need to do to complete their applications. But really appreciate his hard work and kind of getting this set up in the virtual environment that we're in. And we definitely want a good response from our students. So help get the word out on the scholarships, and mark your calendars for May 22nd. Still some details to come on that, but we will be having our benefit concert and auction on May 22nd. Our plan right now, despite the current trend in the numbers, is to have an in-person event, with the hope that by May, things will be trending in a very different direction with weather changing and hopefully vaccines getting distributed in a more broad and efficient manner over the next few months. So those were my last two comments. Chris, thanks again for jumping in on the RISD race. We know you'll be great at that, and you've definitely got our full support. And thanks again, Principal Jones, for your update this morning. And With that, I will adjourn the meeting. We'll keep the Zoom link open until there's just a handful of us left, and then we'll shut it down. But thank you all for being here this morning. We had a really good turnout. Encourage your friends to, check in the newsletter, click the link, hop on here with us on Friday mornings. It's a lot of fun to see everyone. And I know it's not the same as meeting in person where we can, get in our smaller groups and catch up and whatnot, but it's nice to have the few minutes of, kind of social exchange and interaction on Friday mornings and see everyone. So thank you all, and we're adjourned.